back to another episode of Ordinal Revolution. My name is Shizzy, and on this channel, we cover BRC20s, Ordinals, and bitmaps. We got a really special founder discussion today. We've been knocking those out. We got I'm really excited about Jpeg Wars. That's who we have on the show today. They are a Web3 gaming type of company. We're gonna dig deep into them. Yeah, so let's get right into it. Let's bring in my partner, as always, Mr. Yagobi. What's up, bud?
What's up, man? Good morning.
What's going on? Good morning. So we got Jpeg Wars. We found them in a spaces. We were in a spaces that we were hosting a few weeks back, and he was one of the speakers brought to us by Kimmy, I believe. So what do you think?
Yeah. So just kind of right off the bat, what I remember from that spaces, that was like 2 weeks ago, I believe.
Yep.
And it was like that one that we were having trouble getting started, right?
Yep. He
So
stayed with us though. He kept coming back in.
Exactly. So he stuck with us. Really positive type of energy, vibe. I got really community type of vibe, right? Like likes to build community. And then, talked about his project. And, right now, one thing I'm noticing is they have some of these game builders are coming in a little bit more and more, right? Like we interviewed Ninja Cats a couple weeks ago, and then now Jpeg Wars. And I've always thought like having like simplicity along with like fun, that's the most important thing, right? And that's what Jpeg Wars seems to have brought to the table, right? So I'm excited to meet Joe from Jpeg Wars and really get to know him and allow our audience and the Ordinal space to get to know him and Jpeg Wars a little bit more.
Exactly, because like there's not information out there that brings people who are doing the research into things and want to get into games. There's not much out there, so that's what we try to do here. We try to bring you guys information to help you guys do research, and that's I think we got a really good one today. So without further ado, let's bring in Joe from Jpeg Wars. What's up, Joe?
How's it going, guys? Thanks for having me on here.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
You got it. Yeah, Joe is my real name. I go by Anakin on Discord, or if you ever talk to me on our DMs or anything like that. But one of the team members from Jpeg Wars, and excited to tell you guys kind of our story.
Awesome. So on the show, we like to dig into the people. Like to us, it's not really always about the project. It's about the people behind the project. The people are, to me anyway, are the most important part of this thing. So let's dig into your background. Take us back as far as you want to, and bring us all the way up to before you heard that magical word, Bitcoin.
So my story is going to be pretty closely tied together with one of my co-founders, whose name is Dan. I won't dox the rest of him. But basically, him and I met playing baseball in the minor leagues for the Chicago White Sox in like the early 2010s. So I think like 2011 to 2014 is when I played. Met Dan in 2013, and then we played together in 2014. We ended up being roommates while we were on the road. And both of us shared kind of a similar mentality to, at some point there's going to be life after baseball. I don't really want to work for anyone else. Entrepreneurial minded and just like a lot of creativity and a lot of ideas. So me and him would stay up, in baseball, you'd finish your game 10, 11 o'clock at night, you get your food and, it's midnight and you're finally starting to like unwind. But then me and him would stay up for 3 more hours talking about like crazy ideas, things we could build and all that. Obviously neither of us programmed. But both of our careers ended that same year, 2014. And one of the ideas that we had kept coming back to was this concept of being able to order and pay for food and drinks at like a bar or a restaurant. And we got that idea just because like in the minor leagues, you spend a lot of time at these bars, after the games trying to get food really quick, then get back to your hotel. You forget your credit card. All of a sudden, like the next day you're on the bus and like you don't have access to money. So it's just like, damn, there's got to be a better way to do this. And this was the time when like, people were building apps for everything. There was an app for this, app for that. Yeah. Well, we were crazy enough. We were able to raise some money from friends and family. We contracted a company. Dan's from Charlotte. I'm from Los Angeles. But we contracted a company out in Charlotte to actually build this first version of the app for us. And we were able to launch it in 2016 at a bar. I went to USC out in Los Angeles, and there's really only one bar there. I got to know the owner really well when I went to school there, and he let us test it there. They opened another one, across the city at UCLA. It did really well at both of those places. So we thought we had something. We started kind of like going on this college tour where we would go to every little college town on the California coastline, and had decent success. We were able to get it in there, but for the most part, it was really hard to scale once we would leave, just because we didn't have any money for like a sales team or marketing or anything like that. So it was really just us, on the grind every single day. And through those experiences and through like building that company and learning about like credit card processing rates, that was the first time I had heard about Bitcoin. And Dan had heard about it back in 2011 when he was playing baseball. I guess his little brother originally like had called him and said like, "Hey, my friend's creating this thing called Bitcoin. Like he thinks it's pretty interesting." And Dan has a funny like reaction. He'll say, "He's like, my response is like, why do I care about nerds trading pennies on the internet? Like I'm Well, hindsight's 2020 or whatever. But fast forward to 2015 when, me and him are really concepting out BarPay and, looking for other things to do in the meantime to make a little bit of money. And he had a position in gold that he had made some money on. So he sold that and he was looking for something to put his earnings into. And he came back across Bitcoin in 2015 or 2014 now. And he's like, holy shit, this is that thing that my brother was telling me about back in 11. And that was it. That was the rabbit hole moment. He told me about it. We were like trading on Robinhood. Robinhood had just come out, so you could do like free trades for stocks, so we were trading, trying to make like 10 cents a day or some stupid shit like that. But then we find Bitcoin and it's like this, circus that never closes. It's like, oh my God, let's go. So, we learned more about it though, aside from just the trading. At that point there was no Ethereum yet, and Bitcoin was still, really cheap to send and transact with. So we're like, this could be really cool for this BarPay company because credit card rates are way more expensive than what I'm paying to move Bitcoin around. Plus, it takes 24 to 48 hours for a credit card payment to show up, whereas Bitcoin at the time was instant. So we didn't actually end up putting it into BarPay at all, but it got us paying attention. So got some Ethereum when that came out. I remember, I think like Litecoin was the next one. And then we got involved in BitConnect, got rugged there. That was good. Were you guys part of that? Were you guys on the BitConnect?
I was able to avoid it. At that time, I was like in and out. Like, whenever the craze would come, I'd get in and then back out. So I was able to avoid that.
Yeah, I watched Trevon every now and then.
Yeah.
And
you didn't lose your money. Yeah. Well, technically you kind of lost your money. Yeah. That was my favorite, probably Bitcoin moment, but had hundreds of shit coins on an Ethereum wallet or something like that on MetaMask back in the day. And after getting burned in 2017 on all that stuff, we kind of like took a step back, and we're still running the BarPay company at this time. It's growing and we're, hustling and all that. But it was like, man, what is up with this crypto stuff? Why is like everything seem to be like a scam? Where's the utility for this? Or where's like, what are people actually going to do with this? Because like we saw the potential for Bitcoin to replace like credit cards on the fees and the speeds at the time. But then obviously like you had the Bitcoin fork, BTC and Bitcoin Cash. And, you guys might hate me. You might not want to talk to me after this, but I ended up not siding, but thinking like, you know what, Bitcoin Cash is something that I can use on a daily basis. Like I sold all my BTC into BCH and thought that was just going to be like an obvious decision for people, and obviously lost big on that one. But then I doubled down and lost again when I went from BCH into BSV, which you guys probably could have seen coming. And again, it was just because of the utility. Like obviously I'm aware of who Craig Wright is, and I'm not, a Craig fanboy by any means. But when I looked at, the technical stuff that BSV was doing, like, I just thought at the time, this is something I can use. I can at least like, if I go to a bar, I can send Dan $10 in BSV instead of BTC, because at that point the fees had gotten too high to use as like a casual, peer-to-peer cash. So we hadn't done anything in Bitcoin. We kept this BarPay thing running, and then in 2021. One of the developers that we were following in the BSV world put out an API that made it really easy to connect like an app hosted wallet. So on your phone to other apps. And we were just thinking like, what's something cool we could do with this BSV technology and actually like try and build something. Cause at this point, Dan had actually learned how to program. He had always been on like the product side of BarPay. I'd always been more on like the sales, marketing, and biz development type shit. So anyways, we came up with this like little game concept where you can take, 10 cents or a quarter or whatever and split it 100 ways and disperse that to 100 different people instantly on BSV. And the trigger that we did, it was the stupidest / like maybe most brilliant game idea ever, was just like you hit play game on your phone, the whole screen goes blank, and then within 2 to 3 seconds, like a little yellow dot would show up. And the only point of the game was to just tap the dot as fast as you can. And so your score is how many milliseconds, it takes you to tap that dot. And every time you're, playing, you're spending a penny or 10 cents or a dollar or whatever. So let's say you get on the leaderboard with a score of like 300 milliseconds. Anytime someone plays after you, you're going to get a percentage of what they just spent to play, because you could split that 10 cents 100 different ways. So this concept went like viral within the small BSV community, and people really liked it. Like, it was cool just with how stupid the game was, seeing several thousand people playing on a daily basis, and like micropayments just freaking flying all over the place. And at that point, so people reached out to us. They said, "Do you guys want to build more games? Like, this is a really interesting concept. We haven't seen too many crypto projects yet that have like this type of utility." It was more at the time still trading and exchanges and art. So we took on a little bit of capital, and we ended up building what's called the Haste Arcade, which is an online arcade. It's not just a BSV arcade at this point. It does BTC, Ethereum, USDC, Dogecoin, like basically all those through the Coinbase Connect app or API. But in essence, like we weren't able to get out of the BSV ecosystem with that project. And, to be honest, like I really am a fan of BSV. I think there's a lot of utility there, but the community is not the same. And it when BTC came out with Ordinals, when Casey, made Ordinals a thing, we basically saw it immediately. We're like, okay, now BTC has like something that we can actually build with. Because at the time we were thinking like, we're not going to be trading. Like, we're not going to, try and make our bag off of trading it at $20,000 now. Like, we missed that boat. We made our stupid decision back in 2015. But now that you can actually build on this and there's Ordinals, like, let's go look at it again. And so I want to say we're a little bit late to the Ordinal boat. If we first heard about it in early February, we didn't actually start developing anything until like the end of March. So, there were definitely a lot of other projects that had already started to happen. And we saw people, who were builders in BSV go over to BTC and start dominating over there with like wallets and whatnot. And we were just like, man, like, this is awesome. Like, people have a very open mind all of a sudden. Whereas, it used to be people in BSV hate BTC or BTC people hate BSV people. And there is still some of that, but, you guys haven't kicked me off yet, so I appreciate it. But no, but we were just like, okay, like BTC has, a really sick utility all of a sudden, like, let's build something on this. So when we got in there, we started paying attention to the Discords, and we just felt like, the community was much broader all of a sudden. It wasn't just the laser eye maxis. You had people from Solana, people from Ethereum, people who were just interested in doing something on Bitcoin. And that to us was like, okay, this is definitely worth building something on our own. So what can we come up with? Well, we built a handful of games. We really, don't care for the animosity between chains towards each other. Like, is there something we could do that instead of like, fighting each other, we're like having fun fighting each other? And is there like a game we could build around that? So that kind of led us to the idea of maybe we could do a BTC ordinal and place it into one of our games. But we evolved that idea to, why not include Ethereum NFTs also, Solana NFTs also, BSV? Like, what if we had all these different communities actually, coming and engaging in the same place through something where they can still say like, you suck, I hate you, I'm going to go kill you on a battlefield. And that was in essence the start of Jpeg Wars. So we started building that in the very end of May. We thought it was going to be done in June. And as development usually goes, it's usually 2 or 3 times longer than what you estimate to actually get it out there. But yeah, I think we're in the final stages, and there's just a couple little minor things we're cleaning up, but I hope we can launch it within this next week.
Yeah. Well, your story is very common, the BSV thing. We've heard that from so many people who've entered ordinal space. We just got off a thing with Sonic from he's a whale over there apparently, and so we just got off a call with him yesterday, and he basically had the same type of thing. He was on BSV first, so BSV seems to be like the test ground for what we're doing over here with Ordinals Revolution. So that's definitely a common thing.
Yep.
Yeah, and also I think it makes sense to have BSV developers, come over because it's UTXO based, right? And so it
Exactly.
has that similar proof of work concept and all that. But um, I think it's interesting your journey, right? Because you've experienced Bitcoin Cash, BSV, and one thing from someone that didn't go down that route, because I went more of the EVM and stayed over there, right? I was introduced to crypto through Bitcoin, but I felt like more opportunity over there, less politics, right, with the core.
Yeah.
But then, so one thing that worried me initially was like, okay, is this going to be like political to where ordinals start and then the people behind ordinals gets pushed out, like the people that started BSV and stuff, because they wanted to build on Bitcoin. They just couldn't get past the politics, right? And so they were like, fuck it. If we can't, they won't let us do it. We'll try to beat them. So do you notice like a pretty big difference in terms of the ordinal movement versus Bitcoin Cash BSV? Is there a difference? Is there something that gives you like an instinctual feeling of, okay, this will probably stay here on Bitcoin?
There is. I think it's the miners. I think that it's the fees that the miners, excuse me, have at least had a taste of. There was like that week in May or whatever where the fees actually were more than the subsidy for the first time since like 2017 or whatever. And to me, that was a huge deal. To me, that made it where, okay, if you have, the core devs who don't want ordinals and they don't want data on chain, when the BCH fork happened, there weren't a lot of transactions. There weren't a lot of fees that these miners were racking up. So it was like, okay, whatever, like the subsidy is where it's at. But now that they've had a taste of those fees, it's going to be a much harder time convincing miners to continue to mine a chain where like there is no possibility for them to make fees. Because you have these halvings coming up more and more. Like, where's the money going to come from if you're a miner, right? If it's 6.25 getting cut in half and there's no fees to make up for any of that, like, how are you going to stay profitable? So I think that now that the miners have had a taste of what, that's supposed to be like, it's going to be a much harder time convincing them to mine a chain where, you don't have these fees. And like I said, I think in May when they saw that, like, that was a huge turning point, at least in my mind, for the longevity of this and the possibilities.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of like you get a raise from your job, and then all of a sudden, like, yeah, you know what? No, we're not gonna go down that route. It's like, no,
Right.
we're gonna continue this. So I agree.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's more than that actually, because the raise, and then also now their imagination can take off a bit because now they have the rare sat industry that they can benefit off of because they have first access to that, right?
True.
Yeah.
And so it's like the rare sat industry could be a multi-billion-dollar industry, and miners can directly benefit. So really cool, really cool. Yeah. So at the end of the day, you guys are having this concept of almost kind of like unifying like all these other chains by integrating the PFPs. I think that's a great idea. So far, like, what's the biggest hurdles that you guys have ran into kind of working on Bitcoin for the first time, I guess?
So working on the chain hasn't really been an issue. I mean, the game itself, like what we're doing with Bitcoin is really just connecting wallets. So that's not that complicated. I think, in the future, if the game's going well, ideally, we'd probably want to figure out a way to get everything on chain. Because right now, the scoreboard and all that stuff, like, we're not creating inscriptions every time there's a kill or anything like that. Like, I think that would be really cool in the future. And that's something where, on BTC, it would be difficult to do that, even with fees of $1, right? But if there's thousands of transactions a day and we're the ones who are, like, my goal would be, can we inscribe every single kill as, an ordinal? And then basically whoever got that kill, you can, like, be running on the map and pick up a little token or whatever, or maybe it's just sent right to you. And it's like kind of like big game hunting. If you kill one of the best players, you now have an ordinal that signifies that, that moment as a transaction. I think that would be really cool. But for the time being, all that stuff is being kept on databases that we have to control, which, we don't like. We don't want to be centralized either. It's just, this game was supposed to be something quick where, you're just playing with your Jpeg. So the difficulties have not come from the crypto aspects or the Bitcoin aspects. It's been more about latency issues when building, an online multiplayer game. And that's really what we've been working on for the last like month and a half. The game itself, like the design stuff, if you saw the video, the map's pretty simple right now. Like we'll have other maps in the future, I'm sure. But there's not anything crazy going on, you know, in terms of that stuff. It's more about if there's people playing in Europe versus people playing in the US, like do we have servers in those different continents? Like, is there, you know, any lag time whatsoever? Because when we start thinking about if this becomes a play and earn game, you know, and you're losing money because there's lag, like that's a horrible experience. That's something that, you know, no one's really, I don't think, tried yet in the crypto world. So we haven't really come across that issue yet, but that's really been the most difficult part, was how do we make sure that, you know, if anyone around the world, because Bitcoin's global, right? If anyone's playing, they're having a good experience. They're not facing any lag. So that's really been it. You know, the Bitcoin part, we have a bunch of different wallets. You can play with the Unisat wallet, Ordinals wallet, Hero, Xverse, like basically you name it. If you got an Ordinal wallet, you can connect that really seamlessly. And then any of the Ordinals that you have in that wallet, if they're from a quote unquote supported collection, and all that means is a collection that we have all the inscription IDs loaded in our database. If you have one of those Ordinals, you'll see that, you know, that Ordinal pop up as someone you can play with. So you might have a Pixel Pepe and a Bitcoin Frog and a Pixel Mummus and an OMB all in the same wallet. You'd be able to choose any one of those and play with it. And then that would end up being the team that you're on. So, you know, you might see the Pixel Pepe team with 7 people one day playing against the Bitcoin Frog team with 20 people playing against, you know, an Ethereum collection with 5 people, whatever. But that's, you know, to us, that was what the cool part was. It was that, you know, you can now all of a sudden take these Ordinals that people love and these JPEGs. And that's, you know, that's kind of been the one thing across all the chains that people agree on, is like JPEGs are fun. Like people are really enjoying it. Yeah. And, you know, you can now play with them. You can go have fun with them against other people who are, you know, fairly like-minded.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's like community to another level, like gaming clans. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
That could be interesting in the future, man. Like sponsorships, gaming clans.
Yeah. Hey, if you know any, want to hit us up, all right? We're ready.
So you guys had a really big week this week. You guys had a big testing. I want to say Thursday or Friday. Could you go into what that was and how that was, and what do you see in the future?
Yeah, we did a beta test on Thursday. We've got obviously our Discord. You can we call it like quote unquote enlisting before the actual game releases, and all that is you're just connecting your wallet to a platform. But basically, anyone that had an ordinal or an NFT from one of the collections we support, and there's like 40 or 50 at this point. Most of the major ones, you know, if you named them, they're on there. But if you had one of those, or you had signed up on our Discord for a whitelist and didn't happen to have one of those supported collections, you can still play. You still connect a wallet and you play on like the NPC team. So we basically opened that up for those people. And we just did about an hour-long game testing for bugs, latency issues, just getting people's feedback. And we didn't really have any hiccups. It was cool to be able to do that and see, you know, people other than ourselves in there playing. And, you know, it's, when it gets going, like it's fun. It's pretty chaotic. Just because the game is so simple, you're basically just your, you know, Ordinal, your PFP running around this map, shooting people. And there's nothing else to do. Like, so you'll come across, you know, people from different collections, different Ordinals. Basically at any point, you probably die once every 15, 20 seconds. You probably, you know, kill someone once every 10, 15 seconds. So it's very high paced, very fast paced. A lot of action going on. And when you have a lot of people in there, like we had, you know, the Discord, you can set up like being able to talk. So everyone was on Discord, like yelling at each other and doing fun shit like that. So it was cool. We didn't see any major issues. I think the thing that we're waiting on right now, there is one wallet that we can't say who it is quite yet, but we're going to be working with them and basically launching. The game will be hosted on its own. It'll also be hosted within their site as well. So looking forward to it. Yeah, there you go.
It's so funny just listening to the audio. They're like, so much battle. Wow, so much battle. It's like Doge talk in here.
Yeah, that was me. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh, that was you?
Battle.
That was
yeah.
you? Honestly, it looks so fun. And because when you're listening to it too, it just sounds, it's like one of those like interesting like easy, you know, or not easy, but like the graphics obviously aren't like super intense, but that's not the important part. It's like, is it fun? That's what
Right.
gaming's about.
Right. Exactly. And yeah, I mean that little clip, that was, I think me and one of the guys on my team had figured out, if we like stayed with each other, we just dominated people. When we would split up, like it was, all bets are off. So we've been
That's
running
Call of
around
Duty,
like,
right? That's what
and people
happened to
are
Call of Duty. So
right. Yeah. People are going to figure out these strategies.
Yeah.
And Call of Duty, to be honest, like there's so many things that we want to do based on like their multiplayer games, like capture the flag type style.
Yeah.
I was talking about like the one-on-one type stuff where it's just you and one other person on that map going and hunting each other down. Like the game itself can definitely get more complicated. But just for the intro, for the opening, act, I guess it's just straight up, let's battle royale.
Yeah.
Oh,
How's
yeah.
aiming on there?
So you aim with your mouse. I'm not going to lie. I suck. I'm not very good, but I don't think anyone else has had issues. Like I was never that good at games. But I guess,
Yeah,
other people
will
are
they'll
much
perfect
quicker at
it.
the
Like
trigger.
if there's a way
Oh,
to
yeah.
gamify stuff, they'll figure it out. So
The mouse, something I learned yesterday, I was using like a little Apple mouse, and one of our devs has like some crazy gamer mouse, and his mouse can click like 3 times faster than anyone else's. So he's like out there just like mowing people down. We're like, dude, how are you doing this? He's like, oh, it's my mouse, bro. You got to get one of these Razer mouses or whatever. So yeah, people figure that out too.
that's crazy.
The game seems perfect for like mobile or an iPad or something. You guys have any plans for that down the line?
Down the line, yeah. It's just because of how the wallets are right now. You got to have a desktop setup to be able to actually connect like Unisat or Ordinals wallet or anything like that. So once I think the wallet support gets a little bit easier or better for mobile, we'll definitely look at moving it over there. But for now, we're kind of stuck to the desktop.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm loving the concept, man, because just simple, fun. Sometimes with GameFi stuff, it's been like some people overthink it, right? Like they just trying to make it too flashy and all that, but people just want simple, fun concept sometimes, and that's a good start. So
exactly, yeah, it's what we were talking about right before we got on. Shout out Jack Liu and what he was basically saying, the projects that he enjoys the most are typically simple, creative, and liquid. And he actually is not a huge fan of JPEG wars because it's cross-chain. He's like, why not just pick, one chain and dominate that? Like, why does everyone need to do this cross-chain stuff? Jack's like 5 years ahead of everyone else's thinking, so he's probably right about that. But for the time being, it's about community. It's bringing these different chains together, and we've already seen it, right? Like with Ordinals, when you had people from ETH coming over and BSV, like they just exploded with creativity. And we want to continue that. Like we want to see more of that, because I think that's how, me personally, I would imagine you guys share, similar feelings. We want to see Bitcoin adopted in the real world. Like I'm over the current like financial system that we live in. It's a joke.
100%.
And until we've got all these people fighting against each other in the crypto world, and it's like, guys, we're missing the whole point. Like we're supposed to be further along than this. Like we should be fighting the banks, not each other. Like what are we doing? You know? So
yeah, and I hope that's what Ordinals seem to be that way in terms of like the culture here. But sometimes what you'll see is, and it happens with every chain, is pockets of groups, and but I think like that seems to get broken up every time it tries to form here. So that's what I'm hoping it continues. And I have a question. So like if I'm on Ethereum, connect my wallet, and I'm in Ordinals, I connect my Unisat wallet, can I go against them?
Yeah, so you can only connect one wallet at a time. You can log out and then connect with like a MetaMask wallet after, if you were signed in with Ordinals wallet. But yeah, you can play against, if
Shizzy had MetaMask and I had Unisat, could we fight each other? Like he's on his PC. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
So so I get what Jack's trying to say, but honestly, I think that he's not thinking about like this clan type mentality of the gaming, right? So like if you have that, then this can actually bring competition, but it starts a conversation with these different chains with each other in the same environment.
Exactly.
So I actually, honestly, I think this is great for the overall DeFi space.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually excited. I'm bullish on this idea. So yeah, I mean, I like it. And Jack,
Yeah.
I think Jack is like one of those acquired tastes, right? Like you said, he's usually before everybody. When he came in with Ord Swap, like the bitmap thing, he jumped on that like quick.
Yeah.
And now he's kind of like, what's next? So I respect that part of him.
Jack's been schooling me since 2021, basically. When he first heard about that Haste game, he was the first one on that, and he like hit us up. He was like, "Yeah, you guys, like, what else are you gonna build? Like, I like this. This got my attention."
That's
But
awesome.
I think with the whole community thing, we have a lot of BTC collections listed. I think we have like 3 or 4 ETH ones. We haven't done a lot of ETH outreach yet, and that's definitely something that I've got to be more proactive on. We've just been like the actions in ordinals right now in BTC, right? Like that's where a lot of the ETH communities are migrating to right now. Also, they're looking around. I guess within the last week, Ethereum there was definitely some movement there. But yeah, like getting these different collections together or these different chains together and, letting them bounce ideas off each other. We'll have like, there's a lobby in the game where you can have an open chat. We have something called a shit post board, which I think is a cool idea, where basically it's kind of like ad space, but anyone can purchase it. So there's like a banner that scrolls across the top of the lobby, and the price starts, I think, at like 0.00001 BTC or whatever. You pay that cost, and whatever message you want displayed is going to show up there until someone else pays money to cover it. So I might, if I'm a crazy BSVer, I might put up like Craig Wright is Satoshi, right? Like how pissed are people going to be and want to take that down by putting something else up? So cool little things like that where you get people at least talking and conversating is definitely the, a secondary aspect of the game.
I mean, you're definitely right. The best part of Modern Warfare 2 was the lobby, right? Where everyone's just like yelling at each other,
Yeah.
But yeah. But back to the Jack Loot thing, I think the only way we get normal gamers, the Modern Warfare type guys over here, is if they don't know what chain they're on. That's the only way it's going to work. If they have to download different wallets and stuff, they're not going to do it. But if they just come over and one wallet does basically everything, that's the only way to really get these hardcore gamers over here. And once they come over, these guys don't worry about spending money. They just buy skins and they buy things, and they have no interest in getting it back ever. They're just there to have fun. They like putting their quarters in the arcade chain, keep putting them in. So but to Jack Lou's point, I don't think he will be right in 5 years. I think he's completely wrong about that. I think we need to be multi-chain, and we need participants to come in and not know what chain they're on.
When you think about like the gaming community, because this was something that, in that arcade example I was giving you guys earlier, like we thought that mainstream gamers were going to be like the people that would eat this up, but it continued to just be the crypto community. Like what sentiment have you guys seen from like the gaming community? Because from what I've seen, like they're not that excited about, NFTs and micropayments in games. Because for the most part, it's only been money coming out of their pocket. They've never actually like earned, unless you're one of the top performers, right? Like, I don't know. I'm just curious if you guys talked to anybody else like who's had thoughts on that.
Yeah. So my nephew's a big gamer, and I've like talked to them about stuff like this, but I think it's because they're not used to the approach. It's always been free to play and fun first, and then like if you're that good, then you stand out, right? So crypto looked at it more as like an opportunity to monetize, and the base didn't like that. It's just like with other crypto communities. If you come into like a new space and then you seem like you're there to take advantage of an opportunity to monetize, then they'll be like, we don't, they don't receive you very well. But I think what the crypto GameFi industry is learning is, hey, we got to switch this around. Because this is not how gaming was successful to begin with, and we can't just look at it as a business to them first. We need to create something, that's very, very low cost or free. And they'll like the good players will start to promote it because they want to monetize it. So that's what I'm hearing.
The early games, right? It's about community, or it's about being free, right? When online games started happening, they were free. It was something where, you're joining because you got a bunch of friends now on the internet that you like playing this game with. So I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, my thinking is that crypto's a little intimidating. I mean, people like us, we have no problem, like whatever, but we got to write down your 12, 12 words, your 24 words or whatever. So to get started, I think it's tough, but I see them coming over little by little because it's just easier. And it's like, hey, I want to buy some Matic because I want to get a Trump NFT or something like that. And then they start exploring, oh, there's games over here. So I just don't think there's a big push yet for gaming because there hasn't been that game yet. You know what I mean? It needs to be that game where people are just like, all right, whatever. I'll just do it. Do the 12 words, the 24 words, just so I can play this because all my friends are playing it and all the top gaming streamers are playing it. I want to play it. Once we get that big push, and I think that's going to come from Dr. Disrespect, honestly. I think he already has a gaming thing on Matic. You buy his NFT, you're able to play his game. So once we get a few more of those guys who kind of crossover, that's when we're going to see that big push, and that's when I think gaming really takes off. And I think you guys are in a perfect space and perfect opportunity for that situation.
And there's go ahead. I was gonna say there's a crossover with video game developers and crypto developers too, so that's starting to happen. Like Chris, I'm so Chris.
I'm so
So what were you gonna say?
I think the thing about Bitcoin to me that it enables is like you can basically gamify anything. And so you're going to see like more and more of a merge of like these game developers who are also these Bitcoin developers. And it's just because like, you don't need that third party. Like I can do anything I want as a developer and monetize immediately. And to me, that screams just like make things fun, make things playful, right? People will pay for entertainment. And so you can basically, gamify anything, in my opinion, with Bitcoin because of the way that you can make these payments to people. I also think, the games that are being built, like I don't think JPEG Wars is the type of game that goes viral and gets, hundreds of millions of people. But I do think, there's definitely progress in the overall gaming landscape. Like, a couple months ago, Call of Duty, whether it was real or not Call of Duty, I'm sorry, Grand Theft Auto. Whether it was real or not, saying like you're gonna be able to earn real money, from playing this game. Whether they're gonna do that or not, somebody in one of those AAA studios is gonna do that at some point. And when that happens, like it's freaking game over, regardless of how much adoption crypto has. Like that's gonna be a monumental turning point, I think, in Bitcoin adoption. And I think we'll see that really soon. I don't think it'll be years. I think it might be 12 months before someone's like, yeah, let's try it. Let's add it in one feature of our, of our game. And when that ends up becoming the most popular part of the game, which is, in my opinion, like inevitable, it'll set like a new standard and everybody else will follow.
Sounds good. Sounds good to me.
I think Ordinals also is kind of letting people know you don't have to, well, in this current state of it, you don't have to integrate Solidity or any type of, MetaMask wallet or anything. And so I think developers are kind of have a sense of relief that, oh shit, I get to like just focus on JavaScript or Python and stuff and build stuff over here. And then I can worry about the integration later of payment. So I'm excited about the future of that.
Yeah. I mean, our team, I'm the only one that's like not technical. We got 3 other co-founders. Like I said, I mentioned Dan before. The 2 other co-founders, they actually were at the company that we had contracted to build that bar pay app. They were like, lead developers over there. It was a pretty big company, a couple hundred people. And when that first Haste idea came about, that little button game that I was telling you about, like it got so much traction off this little thing that we had built on Wix that Dan hit up. I'm not going to dox them, but hit them up and was like, hey guys, we got, this thing that's out of our hands at this point. Can you guys like build this better or like for real or whatever? And at the time, the company they had worked with had just gotten acquired. So they were basically deciding, do we want to stay on board? They're like, we could take a flyer and try the startup thing. So they brought over some of the most talented people from that company to Haste. So there was 9 like total employees. And from a development aspect, like they were just loving it. Like there was, a little bit of the degen side where, you can go and design some crazy stuff. You can push the limits a little bit on, what are we willing to say on Twitter or what can we put in our games? But still like the professionalism and the amount of like just organization that this team has it was awesome. Like for me and Dan to see where with BarPay, that first company was just kind of like a mess. And there's just like, we have Excel sheets from 10 years ago that I have to go through if I want to find information on like, accounting stuff versus everything that this team built from the start was like well documented, in good position. And it just makes it easier, to develop in general. And I think that, more and more developers that are going to be joining this space, like the talent's only going to increase. Like if you're a kid right now, can you imagine, learning how to trade stocks if you're like 16 or 17? Like who cares about that? That is a dead industry. Like everyone's going to be coming into crypto, whether, the people who are in power right now realize it or not. Like it's happening. And so I'm psyched for the developers. I think that it's really, only going to get easier and better for people to develop on. And that's going to, let us create cooler products.
I agree. So, what's next for Jpeg Wars? What's the next thing? You guys have had your test. What does the next couple of months look like for you guys?
We've got to launch. I'm hoping this week if we can get, the final steps done with this wallet. And after that, see how it goes. Like for us, it's hard to kind of put a success metric on this. Like I'm hoping that we can get 100, 200 people playing at the same time. That would be absolute chaos. But also trying to be realistic and think, the community isn't that big still, like even if you have a collection of 10,000 like Bitcoin frogs, like I would bet that a lot of people that hold a Bitcoin frog hold other ordinals from other collections. Yeah. So it might not just be there's 10,000 Bitcoin frogs and there's, 1,000 Pixel Pepes and 1,000 of this and 1,000 that. It might be, there's only several hundred people that are active at any given time. So for us, it would be launch the game and see if we can build, some type of stickiness where people are consistently coming back and playing. Because that has been one of the hardest things for us on the previous, games that we've built in Haste Arcade is that after the initial excitement wears off, there's just not enough people yet to consistently like have excitement in the arcade and have people coming every single day religiously, like some of these online casinos and stuff like that. So it'll be about launching the game, continuing to try to build community, adding more collections, and then new game modes. And then eventually, hoping to figure out a way where you can make it play to earn. And I think that's not going to be that difficult. Like the way that I would want it to work out would be something where you actually have the collections themselves motivating people to go play. So like, hey, if the collection that wins, this next battle, you're all going to get airdrop something. So then you have the collection creator out there, pushing his people like, hey guys, come on. Like there's, a $5,000 airdrop for whoever wins this Jpeg Wars game. Mm-hmm. Probably $5 to start. Like, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yeah. Stuff like that, adding more features to make it sticky, different maps, different game modes.
Could be big for branding, actually.
What's that?
It could be big for branding for the project. If they're continually like win and that team wins, then that Ordinals project or NFT project is at the forefront. So there's a lot to do with that, I feel like.
Yeah, that's true. I might want to buy, like, if whoever's winning and keeps winning, let's just say the frogs keep winning, I might want to go out and get a frog so I can play with.
Well, because you always hear their name, they're always at the top, and that's where I get the whole gaming clan thing from.
I think too. Well, think about being a not well-known collection, right? Like you might not have, ordinals that are selling 100%. For 0.1 or 0.5 BTC, but you might have like a really strong community, even if your collection is only like 30 ordinals.
Yeah.
But now you have exposure to,
100%.
All these other people who have never heard of your collection, but it's like, why is this collection always winning? Like these guys, they seem like they're having a blast. Like they're a cool community. Like I think it's going to create a lot of exposure for people like that too.
And a reason to hold. Like say if you like I want to keep playing this game with these people, I got to hold my order,
right.
So
yeah. Would you guys play in a game? This was, we got our board of like regular ideas and then like crazy ideas. Would you play where you're actually staking your ordinal? And if you lose your ordinal. Like imagine losing.
I need to play for like a month straight every day first. So yeah, because I think if I'm gonna, put my one of my frogs up or something like that.
Yeah.
Then, But I mean, I think that there will be people that like feel like they're good enough to do that.
I would.
mean,
I
let's
would
be
do that.
honest. How many
Shizzy,
people?
yeah,
If I can win one, if I can win your frog against my frog,
exactly.
and I put
People-
some time in, I'm down.
Yeah. People like to gamble in this industry. Let's be real.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I
So-
can't buy a Bitcoin frog, but shit, like I want to find somebody who's willing to stake theirs and let's
And
go.
you can trade up too. So say if I win your like your squibble or whatever,
Yep.
and now I can trade that squibble and get some BTC and save up for a frog. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So I can earn.
Yep.
Dude, I
That's
love that
true.
idea. I absolutely love that idea. But I'm a DJ, so
Yeah. Well, there's a
Really
lot
cool.
in the space.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, man.
Will you? Well, last question for me. Will you guys have your own collection at any point, or are you kind of just like, you know what, we're the provider for these collections?
We will.
Okay.
We have like the basic art for it. It's not gonna be anything like that's gonna blow people's minds. It's actually more of like a meme, and that'll get released probably within the first couple weeks of when the game is. That's going to depend more on like what this wallet that we're working with, what they would want to do to hype that, because they're pretty good at drops. But we'll do stuff like that. I think we'll also do cool things where, you know, say an individual reaches like 1,000 kills and maybe we airdrop them like a special ordinal where it's like, hey, you're a general, right? So you get like a pixel general, something like that, a pixel Pepe general uniform. Yeah. We'll do shit like that as it rolls out.
Yeah.
I love it, man. Love it. So this is the part of the show where we give you the stage, talk to your community, tell them where to find you. This is how you guys can pick up more people to your community. So stage is yours.
Cool. Well, yeah. Jpeg Wars, obviously our Twitter handle's down there. That's definitely the best place to get information about us. We got a link toward there. And in essence, if you're a collection creator, like this game is an opportunity for you to get exposure to people that, you know, like ordinals or like NFTs, and it doesn't cost you anything to get supported. All you got to do is go on our Discord. You got to fill out like a little form with like 3 or 4 questions where we can get your inscription IDs so we can get everything listed. But that's it. It's just free exposure after that. And for the players, it's all about community, right? Like let's build a fun community. Let's build a place where people from different chains that enjoy, you know, NFTs and ordinals can come together, you know, talk some shit to each other, have some fun, and hopefully, you know, continue to build out a bigger and bigger community, because, you know, the hidden message or the deeper meanings to why we're even building this, like I said earlier, is that we gotta come together and fight the real enemy, in my opinion. Like the way that the economic system is going down right now, and at least in the United States, like it scares me. And I thought that Bitcoin was something, you know, way back when that was gonna, you know, fight and fix this. And, you know, it's getting there, but I think we can increase the rate of adoption if we come together instead of having all these divisive communities and hating on each other's chains and all that. So, you know, the game's gonna go live in the next week or so. Really excited. We'll do some cool giveaways. We'll have a lot of, you know, people in there. We'll be hosting spaces with our different collection creators leading up to it. You guys are more than welcome to come and speak. We try and do maybe 1 or 2 spaces a week ourselves that we'll host, or like we'll go on somebody else's and ask to speak. And sometimes they'll let us talk, sometimes they won't. But that's really what we're up to right now. And, you know, we'd appreciate any followers we get. If you have an NFT or an ordinal, you can play. Like it's not exclusive. Connect your wallet and let's go.
Oh yeah.
Awesome.
It's been amazing.
Yep. And Shizzy's going to put all of JPEG's links in the description. Make sure you follow these guys. We're going to try to get connected with them so we can maybe get into that beta. That'd be fun. And so we're excited about it. The future of JPEG Wars, man.
And please hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the little bell icon. We put up videos all the time, so you definitely want to be but there's no actual time for them, so we'll probably have this one out for you, just so you know, probably on Monday, right?
Cool.
Yeah,
so be sure to retweet and all that. Yeah, absolutely.
Sounds good. Well, thank you again for coming on. We appreciate anybody watching. Appreciate you, sir.
Cool. Thanks, guys.